Hello everyone, welcome to the video on Target GPAT. In this video, I am going to explain the significance of GPAT, how to crack GPAT and what are the tips and tricks to do well in GPAT. This is my YouTube channel. I believe learning is fun because when you feel subject is fun, you can learn anything. If you like the video content, do subscribe. Let's get into the topic. Now, the significance of GPAT is held every year once, usually in the month of January. And once you get qualified, the validity is for 3 years. Now, the advantage with GPAT is the qualified students will get a stipend of 12,500 per month. Now, what is the advantage with this? Once a student is qualified in GPAT, he will be eligible to get MPharm admissions in universities in one of the best colleges with stipend. Now, NIPER, National Institute for Pharmaceutical Education and Research, one of the best institute for pharmacy education and research, the master's admission is based on GPAT qualification. If you want to get into the NIPER, you need to take a test conducted by NIPER. But in order to write that exam, GPAT qualification is mandatory. Means students who have qualified in GPAT can only eligible to write NIPER. Now, the other important thing is, in some of the universities, the PhD eligibility is based on GPAT qualification. Recently, KL University has conducted a PhD entrance test. The test is for those who have not qualified in GPAT. If someone is qualified in GPAT, they can directly sit in for interview. No eligibility test is required. So, PhD eligibility you can get by GPAT qualification. Remember, once you qualify in GPAT, the qualification stays for your lifelong. So, in any point of time, for any PhD entrance, for anything, they will be checking whether you are GPAT qualified or not. This is what is the significance of GPAT is. Moving to the next thing, the important thing, how to crack GPAT. Now, see, this is very important one. Though the test appears difficult, if you don't plan properly, it will be difficult. With simple planning, cracking GPAT will be very easier. Now, in order to do that, what is required is, you need to integrate two things. Integrate the subjects we read, integrate whatever we learn, we need to integrate with life. What do I mean by this life and subjects? Let us see one by one. See, in pharmacy, we have so many subjects are there. Anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, biochemistry, pharmacology, clinical pharmacy. But remember, all of them are linked subjects. Every subject is linked with another one. What all the basics you learn in anatomy, physiology are useful for pathophysiology. Once you master both of them, biochemistry will be very useful, and all the three concepts based on this pharmacology learning. In order to understand the complete pharmacology picture, we need to understand anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology and biochemistry. Basing on all these things, clinical pharmacy will be there. How the patient care will be taken is based on all the subjects. You can see all the subjects are interlinked with each other. They are not separate one. Every subject, see, anatomy, physiology is a foundational course. Based on that, pathophysiology is there. Based on these two, biochemistry is there, and pharmacology, and finally, clinical pharmacy. The same thing happens with chemistry subjects too. Organic chemistry is a pillar subject. Based on the concepts, you can develop heterocyclic chemistry. Medicinal chemistry, synthesis, SCR, everything is based on organic chemistry and heterocyclic chemistry. Analytical chemistry, especially spectroscopy, the concepts are completely based on organic chemistry. So, when you read these subjects, semester and semester, you need to integrate all of them. It is not that you have studied anatomy, physiology first year and you just moved on to pathophysiology or pharmacology. No. Whatever you learn in anatomy, physiology will be helpful in pathophysiology, biochemistry and pharmacology. So, when you integrate all these subjects and learn by combining each and every subject, the comprehension, understanding of the subject, command over the subject will be very good. How to do it? I'll tell you with some examples. Now, the other thing, there is a subject called pharmacognosy, which is based on plant products. Now, pharmacology is combination of these two. Believe me, my students, till date, 70% of the drugs are from natural origin. Natural origin means they are from pharmacognosy, plant products. Now, these naturally originated drugs are completely based on their chemical structures and their mechanism of actions. And the natural product efficacy will be showing both pharmacological actions, and the action is based on chemistry. What all the chemical groups are there. Now, understand one more thing. See, these mechanism of action of pharmacology and everything is related to chemistry. So, you cannot separate all of them into two groups. No, both of them are again interlinked. a particular group is there, you might have heard about pharmacophore. Pharmacophore. Pharmacophore is a ring or group of functional groups which are responsible for mechanism of action of a particular drug. So when you say pharmacophore, you are talking about chemistry, and it is responsible for its mechanism of action. So see, again, my dear students, both of them are interlinked. By observing certain groups, you can say what kind of activity is there. For example, take the case of sulfur. The moment you see sulfur, sulfur has got a common adverse effect called hypersensitivity. You take any drug which has got sulfur in it, it will show hypersensitivity as an adverse effect. For example, sulfonamides, penicillins. The moment you see sulfur, it will show certain element of hypersensitivity. See, the chemistry is combining with pharmacology or its adverse effects. So this is how we need to integrate when you study the subject. That is what gives us immense interest. Moving to the next important thing, again, whatever we study, we need to integrate with the life. See, our pharmacy is not a subject to just learn and put it on the paper. You need to apply it into our own health and life. See, right now the biggest thing the world is facing is the pandemic called coronavirus. This is how a typical coronavirus looks, and it infects our lungs. Let us deal one by one. See, why do you think COVID affects only lungs? The answer, you will get it from physiology. What is lung physiology? Lung physiology says that lungs has got a particular receptors called ACE2 receptors. Lung is full of abundantly rich with this ACE2 inhibitor. Now ACE2 inhibitor, coronavirus gets into the lung cells with the help of ACE2 receptors. Now understand this. ACE2 receptor is a door through which virus gets inside. So where do you find more of the receptors? On the lungs. That is the reason why COVID affects lungs. So how do you know this? When you know physiology. Right? Now let us look into the other thing. What happens when lungs are damaged? The further effects of lung damage, we'll read it in pathophysiology. So what do you read in pathophysiology? When coronavirus gets into the lung cells, it starts damaging the cells. So lung cell function will be impaired. That is what we read in pathophysiology. Now after that, what is there? Why COVID is deadly in some? What is happening? Now what is the function of lungs? The function of lungs is O2 exchange, oxygen. It will takes up oxygen, exchanges with carbon dioxide. So what is the significance of oxygen? Every cell needs oxygen because from the oxygen, human beings get ATP. Oxygen is the final electron carrier through which ATP is generated. Now, where do you read about oxygen significance and oxidative phosphorylation? You read it in biochemistry. When you understand biochemistry, you will understand what is happening. Now, how do you treat COVID? Treatment is included in pharmacology. What kind of drugs are used? Why remdesivir was so popular? Because it is reducing viral replication. And why antibody treatment is used? Because antibodies will fight against the virus spike protein. So all these things we read it from pharmacology. Now finally, non-pharmacological interventions. My dear students, this is the best way to prevent corona. What are these? Using masks and then social distance. What are these two? Are you using any medicine? No. These are called non-pharmacological interventions which we read in clinical pharmacy. Now look at the subjects. Look at the subject. This is physiology. How the lungs are getting affected. This is pathophysiology. What happens when lung is infected? And why it is becoming deadly? This is biochemistry. And what do you use to treat? Pharmacology. And what are the methods to control non-pharmacological? It is clinical pharmacology. See, this is how you need to integrate with life. Once you understand about the pandemic, you will understand the best way to prevent is mask and social distance, and you will follow it. And it is our job being pharmacists to educate general public about all these things. When can we do this? When we understand all these things. Moving further, integrate with subjects. Now let me explain one of the popular diseases. See, till now 60% of all pharmacy medicines are related to cardiovascular system. That means most of the people are affected with cardiovascular system. What do you mean by cardiovascular system? Let me draw a rough diagram of heart and then explain. See, cardio means heart, vascular means blood vessel. So cardiovascular is a combination of heart as well as blood vessels. You cannot separate them because blood will be pumped by the heart. And when heart pumps the blood, where does it go? It goes to blood vessel. Now let us see a simple example of a disease called angina pectoris. Now angina pectoris, in a simple sense, it is chest pain. Why people will get chest pain? Because of ischemic heart disease. What do you mean by ischemia? Decreased blood supply to heart. When this happens, when blood supply to the heart is decreased, when blood vessel block or coronary blood vessels are blocked. Coronary blood vessels are blocked. Why they are blocked, or what are these coronary blood vessels? Look at this. See, the job of heart is to pump blood to each and every organ, but heart also requires blood supply. How does it get? It gets through a special blood vessels called these vessels. These are called coronary blood vessels. Now, when these coronary blood vessels are blocked because of a particular lipid, what happens? This zone do not have enough blood supply, and that is what results in angina pectoris. Now, why it happens? Why coronary blood vessels are not getting enough blood? Because of the accumulation of a lipid called as low density lipoprotein. Now, understand everything. See, in order to understand angina pectoris, you need to understand physiology of heart and blood vessels. And then pathophysiology, what happens when the block is there? When the block is there, enough oxygen is not supplied to that area, and that is what is causing chest pain. Biochemistry, what is the significance of biochemistry? What is the main culprit here? Low density lipoprotein. And how do you get it? You know, there is something called as trans fat. Trans fat, normally all the naturally occurring unsaturated fats are cis in configuration. Industrially produced oils will produce trans fat, cis and trans isomers. Now these trans fats will increase LDL. This we'll read it in biochemistry. So what happens? When you read biochemistry, you will understand trans fats are increasing low density lipoprotein. So you need to avoid foods which contain these trans fats or lower the amount of trans fats. Then, even after that, if you have a block, how do you treat it? The treatment aspect, we'll read it from pharmacology. And finally, clinical pharmacy, how do you manage that patient? Look at this, each and every disease, every subject is involved. So you need to integrate and study, then you will get overall command. To give you more details, look at this. This is how a normal heart is and normal blood vessel is. When LDLs are there, see, the yellow color one, these are blocking the blood vessel. When blood vessel is blocked, what happens? Blood supply decreases, and that is what results in ischemic heart disease. Now, these are all the one, trans fats are majorly responsible for LDL formation. See, the problem is, LDL is called as bad cholesterol. Trans fats will increase the LDL. They also reduce something called as HDL, which is a good cholesterol. So it is a twin damage. So we need to avoid all these foods which contains trans fats. So, see, reading is not only enough. You need to understand and you need to apply when you are taking foods. So, this is how you can make changes to our life and get a healthy life. So, this is the importance of pharmacy. Now, look at this. There is a certain area called as lifestyle-induced chronic diseases. That means the food we take, the exercise we do, the way we live our life will decide what kind of diseases we'll get. See, if lifestyle, a sedentary lifestyle, you are not taking good food, it results in heart diseases, it causes stroke, diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and some kind of cancers. And if you remember, see, heart diseases, diabetes together, almost most of the people, 80% of the population are affected with either heart disease or with diabetes. Both of them are lifestyle-induced chronic diseases. When you understand about the subject, when you change our lifestyle, you don't have any problem. Changing is nothing. You just need to avoid these kind of foods. Once in a while we can take it, but you continuously binge on it, you will have this kind of problem. Similarly, doing exercise and all of them. This is what I say, integrating with life. Whatever you study, we need to integrate with our life. Moving further, so till now we have seen anatomy, physiology, pharmacology related one. Now let us understand the importance of organic chemistry one. You know, the organic chemistry revolves around stability. Now, stability is related to energy. If a compound or a molecule has got low energy, it will be more stable. So, all the compounds with less energy will be higher in stability. Opposite one, if something has got high in energy, stability will be low. You know, when we are doing experiments, we give heat. Before doing an experiment, chemistry experiments, we heat the contents. When you heat the contents, you are providing energy to the molecules. If you increase that energy, they will react. When do they react? When they have less stability. So this is what is the equation. You increase that energy, less stability will be there, they react. If you reduce the energy, more stable, they do not react. Why molecules are more stable than atoms? The reason is stability. Molecules are more stable, they have less energy. compared with atoms. Atoms has got more energy. That is the reason why atoms combine to form molecules, and they satisfy something called as octet rule. When 8 electrons are present in the valency shell, they will have stability. So that is what happens. Now coming to the organic molecules like alkane, alkanes are more stable. Why? Because all the alkanes has got single bond. What is the single bond? The single bond is sigma bond. Sigma bond is a strong bond. Strong bond means to break that bond it takes a lot of energy, so they are more stable. Whereas coming to the other one, alkenes, alkenes means carbon, double bond, carbon. One bond is sigma bond, another bond is pi bond. Pi bonds are they are not stronger bonds. So it is easy to participate them in reaction 1, that is why they are little reactive compared to this alkanes. Aromatic compounds are stable. Why? When you look at benzene, they have got delocalized bonds at their inside, electrons are moving, and that is what gives extra energy. Extra stability. And because of that stability, aromatic compounds are more stable. So whenever you read organic chemistry, you need to think about why. This is very important one. When you understand this why, you will get the command over the subject. Not only this, let us move on to other things. Now, what kind of reactions takes place with alkane? Free radical substitution. Why? Just now we have seen alkanes are very stable. When they are very stable, to break that bond, you need to use high energy intermediates. Free radicals has got very high energy, they will break the bond. No other molecule can break it. So the characteristic reaction of alkanes is only free radical substitution. Why? Because of this bond strength. Moving to the next one. Alkenes. As I told you, alkenes has got double bond. Double bond, these pi electrons are there. More electron availability is there. When more electron availability is there, electrophilic species will come there. What are these electrophiles? Electrophiles has got a positive charge. They will be looking for a negative charge. Electron, negative charge. Phile means like. They like electrons, so they participate in the reaction. They get attached, hence it is known as addition reaction. So what is the characteristic reaction of alkenes? It is electrophilic addition. Moving to the next one, alkyl halides. When you see alkyl halides, halogens are very good leaving group. They will come out as such. When they are coming out, they will take these electrons and they generate a positively charged alkyl groups. Positively charged is attracted by what? A nucleophile. Nucleus, inside the nucleus a positive charge is there. So anything which likes a positive charge one is known as nucleophile. So this one goes towards this one and it substitutes halide. So hence it is known as nucleophilic substitution reaction. Now carbonyls will undergo nucleophilic addition. Why? A carbonyl carbon is this one. Oxygen is more electronegative, so it pulls the electron and it forms a polar bond with oxygen with negative charge and carbon with a positive charge. When it is a positive charge, again a nucleophile comes and attaches here. Because it is addition, it is known as nucleophilic addition. Simple. Aromatics, all the aromatics has got electron rich compounds. So a hydrogen is substituted with an electrophile and you get electrophilic substitution. See, all these characteristic reactions are very simple when you understand them properly. Moving further, now heterocyclic chemistry and medicinal chemistry, there is a biggest link is there between these two. Now when you read about heterocyclic chemistry, what are azoles? 5-membered cyclic rings with nitrogen are known as azoles. If 2 nitrogens are there, 2, 3 nitrogens can be there, diazoles, triazoles. Now in heterocyclic chemistry you will learn azoles are 5-membered ring with nitrogen. Azole antifungals, you will read it in medicinal chemistry. In fact, these are triazoles. So what does it mean? So when you understand what are heterocycles, learning classification will become very easy. Simply azynes. Azynes are 6-membered rings with nitrogen. And medicinal chemistry, you read about phenothiazynes. Thiazyne means a sulfur is there, nitrogen is there. Phenothiazynes, antipsychotics, very popular one. And they have got this azynes. Now moving to the next one, azipines. Azipines, 7-membered rings with nitrogen is known as azipines. Benzodiazepines, 2 nitrogens are there, hence it is known as diazepines. Benzodiazepines is a very popular sedative hypnotics. Now see, to master medicinal chemistry, what do you need? You need to understand heterocycle as well as organic chemistry. What is the significance of all these reactions? When you understand these reactions, the functional groups, you will learn synthesis. Synthesis of the drugs will become very easier. SAR, synthesis, everything will become very easier when you understand organic chemistry. Naming and the rings will become very easier when you understand heterocyclic chemistry. So all these things we need to integrate and read, then only you will get the command. Moving to the final one. Now look at this. See, I have written pharmacognosy in the between. The reason is, let's think about certain things like morphine. When you read about morphine, what is the source of morphine? Opium poppy, opium plant. So from the morphine you will read about its pharmacological actions and you will read about its chemistry too. So pharmacognosy will combine both the aspects, not just morphine, everything. You think about quinine, quinidine, everything is from cinchona alkalides, right? You will read their function, their rings and their mechanism of action too. So it integrates both the subjects. So my suggestion to all the students is you need to integrate the subjects and learn and then integrate with our life aspects. Then you will get the interest, master the subject, and when you master the subject, cracking GPAT will become very easier. So all the best. If you like the video, do share and subscribe. Thank you.